Have you ever been geofenced? That's not exactly the kind of word you hear every day. You might not even know what that is, and yet you are dealing with it on a daily basis without even realizing it. When we think about it, geofencing is nothing more than a combination of two words: geography and fencing. So literally speaking, geofencing is a setup of a virtual fence based on GPS coordinates. This fence can take the shape of a cycle, a rectangle, or any other polygon. When we talk about geofencing, we basically take into account everything located inside that perimeter. But the craziest part about it is that we can also detect entries and exits and trigger a specific action when that happens. A bit like an alarm. You have a house, a perimeter. As soon as someone crosses that perimeter without permission, it triggers an action. The alarm goes off. But we can find even more concrete examples than that. Let's say you're waiting for your Uber. A fence with a specific radius is placed around you. Then suddenly you get a notification on your phone. The driver is coming in 2 minutes. But how do they even know that? That's simply because the car entered your cycle. Another example, you are going on vacation to Europe. You haven't even stepped off the plane that you receive another notification. It's a text message from your mobile provider. Welcome to Spain, calls are $30 per minute, and gigabytes is also very expensive. In that case, you didn't go through a fence, you came out of it. But beyond just being informative, what's more interesting regarding geofencing is obviously the marketing side. And there you have even access to more examples. Let's say you are running Google ads and want to promote an event. So instead of targeting the whole city, which will be a waste of energy and a waste of money, you are going to target everyone who regularly passes near the event in question. And it works for plenty other things. From my personal experience, I recently received a promotional text to buy a new phone. And the craziest part is that they wrote me down the nearest shop location. And guess what? The address was right. So I might have been in that store's catchment area. The only problem with all of these examples is that they are tied to a B2C use, but geofencing also works for B2B. And it's the exact same principle, except that we forget the notions of entries and exits, since we are talking about business establishments. In this case, we are simply looking to extract public professional data in an ultra-precise area. Imagine you are a construction company. You probably have logistical constraints. It's better to target some neighborhoods rather than the whole state or the whole country. Same thing if you are an electrician. You can target some specific streets to start with. Or if you are an advertising agency managing billboards. You take one poster as an example, draw a 1 kilometer radius, and target all the businesses inside. We have seen it. Geofencing is a powerful tool at the service of your lead collection. Now, how to apply it? And for that, I only see one option: Google Maps. Well, it's a map after all. We can enter a lead category followed by a location, and as long as I checked this box, update results when map moves, every time I'm changing the coordinates, the results are different. It is the perfect tool. The issue with it is that the listing, the results are approximate. It's not because you typed restaurants in New York that you get all restaurants in New York. We have talked about this in a previous video, by the way. Similarly, it's going to be pretty hard to target a specific street or a very precise area. Let's say restaurants Houston Street. I think that's East Houston Street. And as you can see, it works. We have access to restaurants within that street, but also restaurants nearby, not exactly the ones we were thinking about. And it is because by default, Google Maps will give us results that, and I quote, because believe me, I can't make that up, results that will likely be inside or near, but can be outside the area. Well, it depends on the day. and the mood of Google Maps. That's what we call location bias, but we will come back to that in a second. So normal usage of Google Maps isn't very faithful to location, and that might be a problem sometimes if, on the other hand, we are looking for something very specific. So I wanted to check this officially, meaning by taking a look at the Google Maps API. Well, Google Maps API is a very broad topic, so more specifically, I chose Text Search New API, available on developers.google.com, which allows me to retrieve leads from a keyword. For example, pizza in New York or shoe store near Ottawa. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, we will quickly notice that we don't have to enter a specific city. We can draw a cycle instead. We just have to define a center point and a radius between 0 and 50 kilometers. However, we are still in a location bias style, which means, as a reminder, the results will likely be inside or near the zone, but can be outside of the area. Now, the good news about it is that we can change this from location bias to location restriction. And in that case, results outside the specified area are not returned. And that's exactly what we were looking for. We told audios that we can draw a cycle, but we can also draw a rectangle. Here we specify the coordinates of a low point and a high point that are diagonally opposite. And this is how we draw the rectangle. So it is possible we can apply the geofencing principle to collect our leads, but not without going through the API, which makes it more difficult than it should be. And that's why at Scrap.io we have come up with a simpler solution accessible to everyone. But literally everyone. Scrap.io is a promise of having your Google Maps file ready in under 5 minutes without needing to install complex softwares or even write a single line of code. This is what the interface looks like. It is very intuitive. It works like a normal Google Maps search. You simply enter a category and a location. For example, restaurant Paris, plumber London, pharmacy New York, anything you want. The key difference is that you can significantly expand your search area, your fence. Instead of targeting a single city, you can target a county, a state, or even an entire country. Technically, you can target almost every business listed on Google Maps in the USA. And you will be happy to know there are roughly 25 million of them. If that is too many, we can filter based on a category. And since Google Maps has approximately 4,000 categories, many of them are synonyms or can be somehow combined to one another. A restaurant might also be listed as a coffee shop, or an auto repair shop can also work as a motorcycle repair shop. A pizza restaurant can also be an Italian restaurant, and so on. We have been thinking about this little issue for quite a while, and we come up with a solution. Scrap.io allows you now to select multiple categories simultaneously. For example, you can now target pizzeria restaurants and Italian restaurants at the same time to ensure you don't miss any prospects. One more thing. Unlike a standard search that often spills over into surrounding areas, Scrap.io keeps your location results strict. To further customize your search area, we can also go in the Geo tab. And here, my friends, is where the magic happens. We have access to two additional options, radius and polygon. It's similar to what we have seen in the API, with the exception that we don't need to code to get the job done. With radius, we can get all results within a specific distance. Once you have your results, you can sort them and export them directly into a CSV or Excel file. However, oftentimes a circular radius doesn't fit, so we can use a polygon instead. This allows you to draw a custom shape on the map, such as the exact boundaries of a specific neighborhood or district. Thanks to it, whether you are targeting an ultra-specific street or an entire country, the tool scales to your needs. And by the way, if you want to test the tool, via the link in the description, your first 100 leads are completely offered.